I'm Dennis Anderson along with Julie Zenner, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
It's Community Action Duluth month. We'll find out more about this important local agency and the work it is doing.
The Depot Foundation held its Circle of Friends Arts and Culture Award celebration this week. We will hear from some of those honored.
And preservationists are raising money to mark the route of Duluth's famed Incline Railway.
Those stories and voices of the region up next on Almanac North. Hello once again and welcome to Almanac North. Thank you very much for watching. And Julie, a lot of anglers are getting ready to hit the water tomorrow for the Minnesota fishing opener,
That's right.
which starts, of course, Saturday.
And fortunately, it looks like the ice is out on most of the area.
I think that's true now.
That was a concern early on.
It certainly was. All right, we'll have more on fishing later, but right now let's get to the headlines.
All right. Thank you, Denny. Superior-based Amsoil announced today it has acquired Milwaukee's Benz Oil and its line of commercial and industrial fluids. The 125-year-old Benz Oil manufactures industrial specialty fluids and metalworking fluids. Amsoil pioneered synthetic lubrication technology and is a leader in the industry.
Road construction begins Monday on a new roundabout at the intersection of Highways 2 and 194. Work will include repaving Highway 2 from Independence Road to Highway 194. Motorists can expect lane and shoulder closures in the work area, with the detour set up early in June.
The city of Duluth is one of 11 communities in the nation selected by the Department of Energy to construct a geothermal heating district. The $700,000 award will allow Duluth, Equilibrium 3, and Evergreen Energy to plan a geothermal system in Lincoln Park using waste heat from WLSSD. If the Energy Department approves Duluth's plan, the second phase of funding would allow construction of the geothermal heating district.
May is Community Action Duluth month, with a number of special events planned to celebrate and raise money for the organization. Community Action's mission is to eliminate poverty in the city through a series of coordinated community partnerships. And so here to tell us more is Classy Dudley, Executive Director of Community Action Duluth. So Classy, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for having me back.
What is Community Action Duluth, Classy?
Community Action Duluth is exactly that. It's the community in action in Duluth. We're here to fight poverty and empower our community.
Talk about some of the ways in which Community Action helps people break down some of those barriers that keep people in poverty.
Absolutely. It's definitely a two-pronged approach, doing upstream initiatives and on-the-ground work, working with people, meeting them where they're at, doing a radical hospitality, fighting the barriers that create poverty. So we really focus on doing a holistic approach, helping people with housing, with financial coaching, getting jobs, and maintaining them to stay out of poverty.
So how did Community Action get its start then, Classy?
Well, it started way back with President Lyndon B. Johnson, who created community action agencies all across the country to fight the war on poverty. So we're one of many. There's actually 24 in the state of Minnesota,
Really?
and we have a few that are within the tribal reservations as well.
I was reading through the information on the Community Action Duluth month, and part of it said that the return on investment for Community Action Duluth is, for every $1 invested, $14 is returned. Yes. Talk about that a little bit and what that looks like in real life. How does that $1 investment actually generate $14 more?
Well, if you don't know, poverty actually increases our taxes here. Poverty, like the systems of poverty, creates more poverty, and that's kind of the way that we're running capitalism as it stands right now, which we totally don't have to. It's society has how we sit it now. So the income that comes into our pockets, Community Action, goes back to our programming, goes back to the community, goes back to the participants to keep them out of that cycle, which lowers our taxes. So we're not paying out on, the community pot to eliminate poverty.
So Classy, what is the Seeds of Success program then?
Seeds of Success. So all of our programming is determined by our community. We do a community needs assessment to garner what the needs are to eliminate poverty within our community. The Seeds of Success was created because there's food deserts in our community. There's a lack of access to food, especially
Really?
in the West Duluth area.
There is.
There's not an affordable grocery store in that area, and there's not a way to get healthy food and groceries. So the Seeds of Success program has definitely a lot of different programming underneath it, but it was created to get rid of that food access issue that we have in our community. And that program is growing rapidly. We need a lot more support to maintain the need that we're seeing in our community.
So Seeds of Success grows food. You also have a mobile market.
Yes, that's also a part of that program as well. That whole program is, again, garnered to eliminate food access. So we drive around with our mobile market to people who can't access a grocery store that's affordable, and we are literally that, a mobile market, a mobile grocery store. We also have our Deep Winter Greenhouse, one of 2 in the state of Minnesota, and we actually partner with Denfeld High School students and teach them about gardening and maintaining and food access, canning, all of that great stuff.
Clancy, tell us about the upcoming tree planting at Chambers Grove. What's that all about?
Yeah, well, our stream core operation, we do a lot of invasive species, getting rid of Phragmites and buckthorn and all that great stuff. And that's actually a transitional workforce program. So we're getting people in the door, learning about these species, learning about how we can prevent these types of things from happening in our community, and then sending them off to higher paying jobs and eliminating that barrier for education that they might not get. So this is just to garner information and support for that program. And tree planting is all where it is. Like, we need trees to survive. We need plants. So come on and help us. we have like hundreds of trees to plant. So
No kidding,
yes.
really?
Community Action Duluth also administers the Duluth Financial Opportunity Center.
Yes.
What can people find there, and how can that resource in the community really help people?
Yeah, so anybody can walk through the door, but what we're seeing is if you're coming in because you're looking for a job, you're also going to get financial coaching. If you're coming in to do your taxes, you're going to get financial coaching. If you're coming in because you need help on transportation, you're going to get financial coaching, because we try to keep people out of poverty. So once you get money, you might need to know how to spend it. You might need to know how to invest it. You might need to know how to maintain it. That's what the Financial Opportunity Center is all about.
Talk about some of the events that are coming up this month, specifically to mark Community Action Duluth Month.
Yeah, well, we have a roundup at Ursa Minor. I hear they just won a really fancy award for their beer, so I hope you join me tonight. That's where I'm going after this.
That's where you're heading.
Yeah. And so other cool events that we're having a graduation. So all of our CNAs, our GED people who graduated, everybody who has a big success story coming out of Community Action, a milestone, we're having a graduation party for them. And our special guest for that is State Auditor Julie Blaha. So that's going to be a fun event coming up. Our tree planting that you had mentioned earlier, and something that I'm really excited for is our poverty simulation. We invited all sorts of stakeholders across our community. We're going to have media there to really simulate what it's like to be in poverty in our community specifically. We're paying volunteers to help do the program, and we're hoping that we get people to show up and understand what we're really facing in our community. And we invited like all the city council candidates and our city councilors as they stand right now, all of our school board candidates. Like, we really want the people who are empowered to understand what it's like and see all the barriers.
It sounds like Community Action is going to be around for a long time. Do you see it that way?
That's a hard question to answer, because I hope not.
You kind of want to wear yourself out.
I want to work myself out of a job. To eliminate poverty is the goal, right? So the more that Community Action can do to eliminate that, the less you need to see me on here.
And if people would like to learn more, maybe would like to find out what some of the volunteer opportunities are, or how to contribute to the program,
yeah, they can always visit our website, our Facebook. They can call me. We have tons of stuff to educate people on our website too. I think that's the best point of action, and to donate. We obviously, all these amazing programs we have and they need money. So.
All right, sounds that way. Thank you very much. Clancy Dudley, Executive Director of Community Action Duluth. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Have fun tonight.
Thanks. Yeah.
Following a couple of years off due to the pandemic, the Duluth Depot Foundation held its Circle of Friends Arts and Culture Awards this week. The awards are given to those who have made a significant impact on the area arts scene. Almanac North videographer A.J. Larson spoke with some of the honorees at Tuesday's ceremony.
We're having an award ceremony sponsored by the Circle of Friends at the Depot Foundation. And I believe there's 6 awards being given out. And I'm one of the lucky honorees. You know, they say a prophet is not recognized in his own country, so I guess I'm not a prophet. It's pretty sweet to be honored in your own region, I think.
So the Depot Foundation surprised me when they just said that we won the Innovation Award. Very grateful. It was a good surprise to have. And I think it's about the innovating that we did here in the community to help the arts industry grow. Duluth has a ton of local raw talents. It has all the resources it needs to be a production hub for independent TV and film production in the country. And we helped put the pieces together that made that happen. There are productions shooting right now in town that came in through Catalyst, and in fact, there's going to be something shooting here in the Depot next week. So it's been quite the journey. There's been a lot of challenges along the way. Duluth is an interesting character that you have to learn how to navigate. But I think that's why we're here tonight, and that they asked me to be here was just because of the results that have happened from the work that we've done.
I've been a photographer for many years in Duluth, and a lot of what I've taken pictures of are the historical buildings and everything from the lighthouses to the bridges to the depot and trains and you name it. So I've been around for quite a while and enjoyed taking pictures, and part of Duluth is the historical buildings.
Back in 2019, I had a partnership with Zeitgeist to do a big collaborative fish down in Canal Park. And we had a session where people just came and painted things that were significant to them about the water in the region. And then after that, I'd gotten another grant to do crosswalk murals. So my beginning was kind of doing temporary stuff, which eventually led to just doing actual permanent work. So I've done the Chief Buffalo murals. I have a mural out in Lincoln Park of a hand offering tobacco. Yeah, various public art pieces around town.
It was thrilling to watch things come along, and especially in the arts, especially in the last 10, 15 years, it seems to me they've really developed and come to a kind of ripeness. We do have a heritage here, all the way from when the depot was founded to, the lift bridge and lighthouses and Glen Sheen and the Civic Center. I mean, it's all a story of the people of this area.
Most locations usually have 1 or 2 really great features. Duluth is nothing but natural beauty. You've got the lake that can double as an ocean all the way up to the forest, and you got the downtown, and you got the neighborhoods, all the variety of places that you can be in within just a 15 or 20-minute drive is something that film producers get excited about.
It takes a little bit of creativity, not just being creative and having the skills to make art, but probably creativity in approaching different mediums. So I don't just work in murals. I do, animation, I do graphic design, I do community organizing just generally. And so I've kind of diversified all of the different things that I do. And I think that's one thing that it probably does take to be an artist. And then also to just know the back end, administrative side and organizing and all the boring things too, which nobody tells you is part of being an artist.
Duluth's famous Incline Railway has been gone since 1939, but if you know where to look, there are still signs of it along vacated 7th Avenue East. Duluth history lovers are raising money to help preserve and mark the Incline site. And here to tell us more is Doug Stevens, who is working with the Duluth Preservation Alliance and the Eco Rotary Club on the project. And Bob Berg is a board member with the Duluth Preservation Alliance. And welcome, thanks so much for being here. For people who might not be familiar with the the Duluth Incline Railroad. Talk about what it was and why it was such an important piece of Duluth's history.
Well, I'd have to say it was the vision of William King Rogers. He came to Duluth and he got Rutherford B. Hayes interested in investing in Duluth too. He was our 19th president of the United States. And so they bought land from the bay all the way up to Duluth Heights. And their purpose was to get people to buy land in the Duluth Heights. And the only way to do that was to build an incline to get up the hillside. So it got built by them. They started the Highland Improvement Company, and they worked with the Duluth Rail Company here. And they built it, and it went up 500 feet, over 500 feet. So it was a 2,975-foot superstructure that had two large garage-sized cars that weighed 29 tons apiece.
Really?
And they were powered by several steam engines at the very top in the powerhouse.
Wow. Bob, talk to us a little bit about the effort to preserve the old railway sidewalk and steps along that vacated route.
Well, Doug has been spearheading that for quite some time, but we had both led some hikes along there to show people where it had been. And we're going to be doing one this coming Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and we'll be meeting at 6:30 West Skyline Parkway. And so come and join us, and we'll lead you down and show you where that used to be. And I think it's an important part of Duluth history.
Definitely.
And we showed a little bit of video of people walking up those stairs at 7th Avenue West. And talk about what kind of condition it's in. Is it pretty well preserved?
Yes, I would have to say it's very well preserved. The steps and the sidewalk are 132 years old now.
Wow.
But it was made with some aggregated concrete, which is a little stronger than the concrete that they make today. Other than a lot of the railings are missing, there's very few cracks in the sidewalks. Most of the steps are in very good shape. So there doesn't really need to be a lot done.
So Bob, why was the incline abandoned?
I think it wasn't profitable anymore, and they took it apart, and I understand that they scrapped it then. It was in 1939, and they sold it for scrap, but then I heard that they sold it to the Japanese, which wasn't, I don't know if that's true or not. I had heard it was for the war effort, but then I heard they sold it to the Japanese, so I don't know.
So part of the effort right now, I understand, is to not only make sure that the structures remain solid, but also to make sure that people know the story. And so some good signage is really needed at the site.
Correct.
Who is really spearheading that, and what kind of money are you looking at to get that project done?
Well, I was trying to figure out how we could do this, and I've been working with the Parks Department here, and there were several things I had to come up with first before it could even become a recreational hiking trail. And once they allowed it, then I had to put in a proposal to the Parks Department for signage, and it was a 60-day approval. It took 90 days to approve it, but it has been approved. And so we're hoping to get at least 4 signs with information and pictures of what the rail system looked like.
So why does the past need to be protected and remembered?
Well, because this is a very important part of Duluth's history. I mean, it ran for 48 years. It was before cars, before buses. It was one of the only ways of transportation to get you up above the hillside.
Bob, how would you rate Duluth in terms of its commitment to preserve historic structures and the legacy that goes along with them?
Sometimes it's been good and sometimes not so good. We lost like the Astoria Hotel recently, which was down in Superior Street.
Right.
And now I understand the Garrick building, the Pineapple building on First Street is threatened with demolition too. So sometimes our city has been doing a good job of preserving it and restoration, but it could be better sometimes. On Wednesday, May 31st, we're going to be holding our annual award ceremony in the West Theater and we'll be presenting, I think it's 20-some buildings in Duluth that have been restored. We'll be recognizing some of them, the jail, for instance, the Cove apartment buildings on First Street, and various houses in Duluth that have been restored too. So that's good news.
Yeah.
Doug, we only have about 10 seconds left, but if people want to get on board, want to donate, what should they do?
Well, the best thing to do is go to Bet Paddle and buy some beer. They're holding a roundup event for us, and they'll ask you if you want to round up your bill to the next dollar amount or whatever, and it'll go to the Incline signage.
Oh, wonderful.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Good luck on your efforts.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks,
appreciate
guys. Appreciate it very
you.
much.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Well, it's time now for Voices of the Region when we hear from an area journalist about stories making news. This week, our guest is author and columnist Aaron Brown in Itasca County.
I think the big news on the Iron Range recently was the news that the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources intends to issue the mineral leases for some property near Nashwauk, Minnesota, that was once the site of Butler Taconite and more recently has been part of the SR Steel and Mesabi Metallics project, that they'd like to issue those mineral leases to Cleveland Cliffs, one of the three companies that had bidded for the mineral leases after the demise of Mesabi Metallics project. And this is big news for especially the workers and families at Hibbing Taconite, because Hibbing Taconite was nearing the end of its natural mine life. It was running out of ore in the space that it had. And the big question was, where were they going to get more ore? And if they couldn't, would they have to close? Of course, that was a very real possibility. So that's big news on the Western Mesabi, but also it marks the end of this SR Steel project, the 20-year hope that we'd be making steel someday on the Mesabi Iron Range and in the Nashwauk area. It's kind of a bittersweet feeling for me. I remark on good that Hibbing Taconite stays open, but it's also a real problem in a way that we spent so much time and money on something that didn't come together for various reasons. So it's perhaps a lesson for the future as well. The Cleveland Cliffs blast furnaces at Middletown, its Middletown facility, successfully made steel using hydrogen. And this is a part of when you hear about green steel or carbon neutral steel, of course, that sounds like an oxymoron because steel is literally made of, among other things, carbon. What that means is they replace a lot of the coking coal, the coke that goes into steel with hydrogen in a chemical process that then turns the iron ore into steel through another chemical means. And they've successfully done this in one of their traditional blast furnaces, which means that there is some hope of these blast furnace facilities being retrofitted into a cleaner steelmaking process, which is a big part of America's and the world's efforts to reduce carbon emissions in the atmosphere, which will address climate change and some of the rising temperatures that we've experienced around the world. The Goodman Auditorium in Virginia, at the Virginia High School, one of these classic range auditoriums built in the 1917 in their case, with mining tax dollars from an era when towns could really access more of the value of iron ore at the mouth of the mine through the tax laws of the time. This allowed both Virginia and the Goodman, Hibbing High School Auditorium, the Chisholm Auditorium, Ely and Evelyn and Gilbert, and all of these range schools all had these beautiful auditoriums because they could tax for it. And now one of the originals, the Goodman, is going to be closing. And they're having a special show on May 20th, a Saturday. They're going to unveil a new symphonic concert by Dr. Renee Clausen about the Iron Range. It's a symphony, the Mesabi Symphony Orchestra and several local choir and musical groups from both the school and the community are collaborating for this special show, and they're going to close the Goodman Auditorium in style.
Thousands of anglers will head to their favorite fishing spots this weekend for the start of the Minnesota fishing season. A cold spring had many worried about ice being out in time for the season, but warmer temps this week have helped. The Minnesota DNR has some tips for folks headed out for the opener.
With a late spring like this, it's kind of hard to tell. The walleye opener is always a bit of a who knows how the fish are going to be behaving. So we ask the people be adaptive and be ready to try something different. And that might be, if the walleyes aren't biting, chase some pike or bass or go back in a back bay and find some crappies who are enjoying some warm water, particularly on a sunny day like this. We really hope that most lakes will be ice-free. People will be able to get to them. We do have several walleye spawning takes in the Northeast, as well as we do in other parts of the state, and the fish are moving. So things are active. We're a little behind, but we're not that far behind. Just be certain if you have a lake that maybe you've had ice issues in the past, talk to our local area office or call your favorite bait shop. They'll give you the scoop. Walleyes don't always cooperate. So we obviously, our panfish are open year round, bass open at the same time, but it's just catch and release. And then all of our native fishes that people are beginning to gain more respect for, and that's been one of my goals all along. You know, I don't care what I catch. As long as something's pulling on my line, I don't care what it turns out to be. So have fun with that as well.
It's a big weekend for many. Be sure to keep up with Almanac North by following us on Facebook and Twitter. Head to the PBS North website for program updates and upcoming events. And don't forget to download the PBS video app to watch your favorite PBS programs on demand. And Julie, we'd like to wish Twin Cities PBS Almanac producer Brendan Heenahan well as he retires today after nearly 40 years at the station's our sister program down in the Twin Cities.
Wow, that's a very impressive career. Congratulations.
It certainly is. Congratulations, Brendan. With Julie Center, I'm Dennis Anderson. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody, and be kind.